Hello, friends. How are we doing today? It is Tuesday. Somehow we're back at Tuesday. I don't know how it happens. It blows my mind every time. I'm doing this because I am feeling overwhelmed today, and so I'm just giving myself a little grounding in my own body. I don't know what it is about that, rubbing my hands together, but it just feels really nice. Creates a little friction, creates a little energy, and then I give it back to myself and it feels a little better. Also, if you want to, with me, we can do a little breathing. I was watching Andrew Huberman talk about this on The Tonight Show of all places, and the physiological sigh, which I always forget about and I need to do more often. You take a full breath in through your nose, and then you take a little more sip, and then you breathe out slowly through your mouth. And it's really nice for calming your nervous system, de-stressing a little bit. So let's do it again. We can take a nice big breath in through the nose, another little sip, and then relax. Easy, slow out breaths. And that usually kind of brings me back to myself, brings me back to ease, brings me back to calm Sarah, which, as calm as I sound on here, I'm not always that calm inside my own head, weirdly enough. I know, it's crazy. So yeah, that's something I've been really working on, is bring myself back to the tools that I know are good for me and my nervous system, because if I'm trying to have a creative life, I can't be trying to sing with a dysregulated nervous system. I can't be trying to paint on a shaky canvas, you know? I can't be trying to write songs from a place of overwhelm and stress and not trusting myself, you know? I mean, there's something to be said for writing a song about all the emotions, but I think it's more important to start a creative pursuit from a place of trust with yourself, because if you're anything like me, if you start singing, or if you start writing a song, or if you start a painting or something from a place of, I gotta do this, otherwise I'm going to be a failure, the energy behind that is a little scattered. And for me, if I start a creative pursuit from that place, from a place of obligation, from a place of not thinking that I know what I'm doing, it just leads me to more stress and more like a spiral, you know? So, and I have anxiety spirals about everything, so that's not really saying much. But it, like, for me, if I don't give myself the loving environment that I know that I need to set myself up for creativity in a safe way for myself, it becomes an unsafe place for myself, just because of my anxiety and how it leads me to talk to myself in that creative space, you know? And so then everything I do from that space is wrong and bad and ew and gross and I hate it and I'm not good at this. You know, that is gremlin fuel. So what I've been trying to do lately, well, I'm always trying to do this, but I am saying it out loud so that maybe you can do it with me and we can be accountability buddies, that I am going to remind myself that it is okay to take time and space before you do the next thing, especially if it's a creative thing, because you're doing it for yourself, right? Like, we can get really in our heads about obligation, and I've been trying to do this thing for 5 years. I got to do it today, otherwise I'm never going to do it. You know, there's so much urgency and scarcity around our creative pursuits sometimes, and I am in that with you. I feel that. But my goal for the next year, because I'm trying to do this sustainably for a long term, and I'm trying not to burn out, my goal is to, before I do anything creative, is to make sure I'm in a place where I'm at least a little bit grounded, at least a little bit not in gremlin driving the bus mode, at least a little bit in a place where I can breathe fully into my full lungs, right? So that I started this off with like a physiological sigh, which is like full breath, a little sip, and then slowly letting your air out. And even just doing that before I sit down to do something can help so much. And I always forget that I can do that. Like the things that I'm working on are not life or death situations, right? I am a voice teacher. I am a songwriter. I am a creative person. I'm not going to be late to an open heart surgery. You know, this is not the life or death situation we're dealing with here. So I remind myself that it's okay if I maybe didn't get that thing done today. If I maybe didn't work on that song today, I can do it tomorrow. If I didn't send that email to my students, it's okay, because nobody's probably waiting on me to send that life or death admin email, you know? So I have to really remind myself, like, if you're not in a space to do this from a place of trusting yourself, then you get to give yourself the gift of saying that it's okay. Whatever you're not doing is okay. Whatever you're not doing well enough to your gremlin is okay, right? Like sometimes it's great to just say, you know what, I'm not at 100% energy, but I'm going to do the thing anyway, just because I need to do it. Great. There's huge benefit in that, because that teaches us to do things imperfectly. But if you're trying to do something like learn this song that you've been trying to learn for a long time, that's your favorite song, and all of a sudden you have 10 minutes and you're frazzled from your day at work and you have to feed the dog and you have to do all these other things, maybe right now is not the time to sit down and work on this really meaningful song that you've been struggling with for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself the gift of saying, yes, I'm going to do it right now because I need to practice being imperfect. Or, no, I'm not going to do it right now because I know my canvas is really shaky right now and I need to take care of my canvas first. I need to remind myself that I am safe first before I go into this very vulnerable creative pursuit, and give your gremlin more space to say, hey, guess what? That sucks, right? Why are you doing this? Who do you think you are? And really the answer to the reason why you can't sing the way you want to sing is because you were trying to do it from an empty cup, from a shaky canvas, right? It's not that you're a worse singer. It's just that you didn't take the time to prepare your environment correctly, right? Like if you were having a friend come over to stay with you for a week, unless they were like your best friend and they literally didn't care, like you would clean up your house before they came to stay with you, right? Before they slept in your guest bed. You would change the sheets, right? You would sweep, you would clean the kitchen a little bit, right? This is the same as inviting your creativity into a frazzled brain, right? Because creativity is a heightened situation, like you are trying to have a flow of creativity come to you. You're trying to, especially when you're singing, you have to have a lot of trust in yourself. You have to have a lot of resilience. You have to have a lot of giving yourself over to the creativity, like the muse or whatever you want to call it. But if your environment is already heightened and feeling attacked for whatever other reason, could be something in your workday, could be a relationship issue, who knows why. But if you try singing from that place, you're inviting that creativity into a very uncomfortable living situation. So it's going to be probably more uncomfortable because creativity asks you to be vulnerable and to open up how you're really feeling. Sometimes this can be really opening for you, you know, if you're trying to be more vulnerable, if that's one of your pursuits in life. in your creativity, is trying to be more vulnerable and really get to the heart and deep under what you're really trying to say, this can be a good exercise. However, if you are a person with already a lot of anxiety, I would not recommend it. You know, because chances are, if you're like me, you are living most of your day anxious about certain things. And if you're trying to bring a more vulnerable situation into that, it's just going to give your gremlin fuel to continue to rag on you, you know? So if you are a person with anxiety, if you are a person who has a neurodiverse brain, listen to the idea of what your creativity is wanting, right? So if you've tried to bring your creativity into an uncomfortable environment before, and it just has led to feeling really gross about the creative thing that you're doing, about your singing, learn from that, listen to that. Your body's trying to tell you something. However, if you are a person who kind of thrives on that and really leans into these uncomfortable feelings, and you're okay with sitting in these uncomfortable feelings, and that is your work right now, if that's what you feel is your edge, is sitting with these uncomfortable feelings, by all means, use that. But so many artists try and dive into their uncomfortable feelings not having the support that they need, right? So we try and use our art as therapy. And we're like, oh yeah, this feels gross. Let me dive further into this terrible, horrible experience and feeling in order to get good art out of it. Or I feel like crap right now. I'm going to write a song about it, and hopefully that fixes the situation. You're probably not going to get what you want out of either of those, honestly, because art is not therapy. Art is art. Art can have therapeutic properties, but not always, especially if we treat art as our only therapy. Therapy is therapy. This is something I've learned a lot in my own life, and from mentors especially. Like, if you're relying on your art to be your only therapy, that is going to, I'm not saying it is, but it might very well lead to you going into places where you don't know what's under there without any help and support. And that can be a very scary place to go, depending on where you're trying to go, inside here. However, I think it's really important to do art. And I think it's a very good thing to do for yourself, because most of us have said no to our art for a long time. So if you're feeling like you want to do art to express this feeling, if you want to sing to express this uncomfortability, great, do it. But don't rely on it as your only therapy, right? Go find a therapist or a friend to talk to, so that you're not alone in trying to get under this feeling, And for most of us, if you're here, you're probably an anxious perfectionist, because this is who I bring into my world, because that's who I am. I think it's really important for us to start being the ones to take care of ourselves first, because with most of us, we have not been in the habit of doing that. We do the things that we have to do, or we do the things that we feel like we should do to be a better person or a better artist before taking care of ourselves. And I know that it's true for me. So raise your hand if it's also true for you. So this is why I'm suggesting, let's get in a different habit. Instead of forcing yourself to dive into that really deep emotion, if you're already struggling, let's take care of ourselves first and sing from a place of safety. And if that is not feeling possible for you, reach out for somebody who feels safe to you. Find someone that has struggled in similar ways, and you can talk to about these feelings, or find a therapist if you have the means. I know it's a privilege for a lot of us, but find somebody who feels like you can say these things to and will help you co-regulate, which is one of the best ways to ground yourself. If you're needing that, if you're feeling like a shaky canvas and you're going to sing, you're like, ooh, this is not feeling good right now. Keep in mind that when you're slightly dysregulated or a lot dysregulated, your hearing changes. Your vision changes to look and to be on the alert for danger. So your hearing changes to hear higher and lower frequencies, and your vision changes to see different emotions and faces. So you may, oh, hi, Ruby. I'm talking about stuff that you taught me. So when you're in this place of uncomfortability, you're literally hearing different things and you're seeing different things. And so when you're trying to practice singing from that place, you may hear things that you didn't expect, and it may sound not good to you, you know? So you may experience these things and feel like, I am not good enough. Like, why am I doing this? And you may, because you're already in an anxious place, go into another thought spiral about, I'm not a good singer. I shouldn't even be doing this. Why am I even bother practicing? All that stuff. And I know this because I've been in these spirals many times before. So just remind yourself that you can take the time before you practice, before you get creative, to settle. You know, you don't have to do it just because you have 10 minutes. I know I'm a voice teacher, and that's my job to tell you to practice, you know, when you're in the car and all that stuff, because if you're in a place to do that, it works. And it's really helpful if you're a busy person. But if you're in the car on the way to the grocery store and you're already feeling lots of feelings and you're overwhelmed and you have 8 things on your to-do list, like I do every day, that may not be the best place for you to sing from, because your nervous system, your canvas, is not very settled, you know? And so when you do start singing, when you do start diving into that very emotional practice, you might run the risk of continuing to unsettle yourself. You know what I mean? Because when I'm anxious, when I'm overwhelmed, that is when my gremlin is the most loud. So I don't necessarily try and sing from those places, because I know that my gremlin's going to be front and center in my ear telling me all the bad things about me and everything I'm doing wrong. And that, to me, is not a productive place to practice from, you know? So I think it's just really important to know yourself and to know your patterns, which is why I talk about the nervous system all the time, which is why I learned so much from Ruby Rosefox, who is here right now. If you don't follow her on Muscle Music, highly recommend it. I've learned so much about the nervous system, and especially as a performer, as a musician and a singer. It's really interesting to know. So it's really crazy to just turn the lens around and to look at yourself from a wider lens, you know, like look at the bigger picture of yourself right now. Like, yes, I have a song I need to work on. However, I'm feeling overwhelmed because of 8 other things in my life. Is this really as urgent as I think it is? And can I take even 10 minutes, half an hour to go back in through the body, remind myself of my own safety before I go back into that creative pursuit? Let me know what's coming up for you with this. It's a very interesting concept, and it's different for everybody, you know, like, yes, chances are if you're here, you're an anxious person, you're a perfectionist person, you're an overthinker, and this might be the thing that you need to hear today. But also, if you're feeling great and you're like, I just need somebody to tell me to go practice, this is your sign to do that, you know, like, only you can know how you're feeling and how your canvas is doing at this moment. So you get to take a minute and you get to decide, what do I need? Do I need to practice imperfection in this moment because I'm feeling pretty stable and I'm giving myself that edge work to practice going to the edge and saying, yes, I can do this, and sticking one toe into the water? Or am I feeling really overwhelmed today? Am I feeling already attacked and already slightly in fight or flight, or slightly just tired? You know, is what I really need today to, instead of forcing myself to sing from this already shaky place, maybe I go lay down for a little bit. Maybe I give myself a really nice hot meal. Maybe I just let myself go listen to music for a little while, music that is calming or just makes me happy. Sometimes forcing yourself to do the work is not what you need. So, but only you can know that, Yeah, it's pretty wild. Thank you for saying all that, Joe. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's something that I need to hear constantly. And so I have to remind myself of all this every single day, just like you guys. None of us are perfect, and none of us can know exactly how we're feeling until maybe we voice things out loud to another person. My husband was telling me this last night because he is in training to be a therapist, and he's like, yes, you know a whole lot about the mind and the nervous system and your own patterns, but the thing that really makes the biggest changes is having a container, having somebody who you feel you can talk to and co-regulate with, and who you can let this stuff out, whether talking or writing, because this is where your brain processes things in a different way when it's outside of your head instead of just inside your head. And I know that for a fact because I have been shocked at the things that came out of my mouth in therapy or just talking to a friend, or in my journal. I was like, I had no idea I felt that way. It's wild, So it's really interesting to look at that. And this is, I've used artist therapy or tried to use art to regulate. Sometimes it works, but this is helping me see how that could also bring in those gremlins into my art and making art from a fight or flight place. Yes, totally. Most therapists, they either are not artists or they don't know how artists' brains work very much. And so they've been taught to say, yeah, you're an artist, go do art, work through those feelings, go paint something, go sing a song that helps you work through these feelings. But if you are already doing art as a career, or if you are doing it all the time because this is your main hobby and main passion, it might not be the best idea for you to bring that therapeutic pressure into your art making, because there's already enough pressure on your art making. It doesn't need to be therapy on top of that, yeah. When I heard this, it was on Ruby's page on Muscle Music. I was like, holy crap, this is true. I have been told to use my art as therapy so many times, and I try to do that, and I'm like, well, I just feel the same, because I still have all this pressure on my art because I'm trying to make art my career. It doesn't need to be also my therapy, because that is just a whole lot to deal with, It's a lot. And if you're already an anxious person, my goodness, don't put more on yourself. It's just, if you were telling this to somebody else, they would be able to be the one to say, hey, look at how much you're putting on yourself. Look at how much weight you're putting on this art. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, I didn't see that. Because it's hard to see things from inside your own little teeny little brain, so understandable. It's okay if you don't see these things and you don't know your own patterns. This is what other people are for, to help you co-regulate and also to show you what they see. It's very interesting. For artists by trade and mistranslation of common strategies brought up in therapy. Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I've had great therapists. I've been very lucky. But there is a weirdness to being a performer that does not exist in the normal rest of the population. And I think a lot of therapists don't know how to deal with us because we're weird, because we don't want to be seen, but also we really want to be seen at the same time. We don't want to be heard, but we really want to be heard by everybody, but we want to be heard by nobody because I might mess up. And I don't want people to think I'm a bad person or a bad singer, but also listen to me, please. Thank you. It's a very strange place. Yeah. So just putting that seed in your head if you need it today. Take some time to bring some safety in first, some grounding in first, and let yourself decide that based on what you really need, not the shoulds. I'm the worst at putting the shoulds on myself. Like somebody asks me what I need, I'm like, well, I should do this. They're like, no, not what you should do, not what you have to do. What do you really need? What do you want? And I'm like, I roll my eyes and I'm like, I just need to lay down. And they're like, yep. Exactly. So hopefully I can be the one to pass that along, because I know I need to hear it. So if you do too, then there you go. But if you're feeling great and you need somebody to be the one to tell you, like, hey, go push yourself today. If you're feeling solid and not overwhelmed and like your canvas is solid today, go push yourself a little. Go sing for a little bit. Go give yourself the extra practice time that you know you've been needing, if that's truly what you want to do, you know? And keep in mind that if the grandma's driving the bus, you're not going to feel like you want to or need to. You're going to feel like that's the least thing you want to do. However, you know better than the grandma, right? And what do we do in those moments? We tell the grandma to F off, so you can have some gremlin free time to listen to your own dang brain, not to always listen to what the gremlin's saying. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Give yourself some space if you need it. Give yourself some push if you need it. Get yourself an accountability buddy. Get yourself a mental health professional if you need it. Let me know if I can do anything for you. I am not a mental health professional, so I can't be that for you. But I can be a vocal coach. That's what I'm here for. So let me know if you have vocal questions. I'm here every Tuesday. And if you have specific questions you want me to talk about, please message me. I will always love to answer your specific questions, because otherwise I'm just going to talk about what I'm dealing with. So hopefully it works for you too. Yes, if I haven't worked with you before, you can go check out all the things up in the thing to get into my world. Enchanted Voice is currently open. I will be probably doing a push for that sometime in the next month, but it is currently always open. So you can pop in whenever you want. It's a pretty amazing program. I'm dropping little video tips every week, and we have a monthly live session. So if you're interested in working with me at a kind of a lighter commitment than the big vocal magic program, that's it. That's what I got. My private studio is pretty jam-packed right now, so there you go. There's your option. If you don't want to commit to that, that's cool. You can just come here every Tuesday and we can chat here. You can also follow me on YouTube. I post these after the fact. Uh-oh, I said another platform's name. Oh well. Yeah, so there you go. I love you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you for being here. Thanks for chatting, and I will see you very soon.